Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching our podcast. This is episode 7, I believe.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Sounds about right, yeah.
We've already lost track.
It seems like we do this all the time, but it's actually, we're just sitting down having fun.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, for those of you listening in and watching, this is our train talk from Milepost 141. This is our SoundTraxx Soundbites podcast. And every 2 weeks or so, I think we're posting these.
That's what we decided on.
A new look into some of our topics, things that we've been working on, models, projects, and maybe some little tips and hints and things like that maybe we haven't done a full YouTube video on, or maybe this is where we invite you to tell us what kind of topics would you like us to talk about.
Yeah. Do bear in mind, though, these are pre-recorded, so it may be a little bit till we get to your topic. So.
Well, details. We do pre-record them, and that way we can make sure that we have them ready to go, because of course I travel a lot for shows and other stuff.
You're going to be doing that a lot next month, aren't you?
I'll be doing that a lot in the month of September, so it'll be very difficult to try to stay.
We're recording this towards the end of August.
Right, so... But anyway...
So where are you going in September anyway?
So in September, I've got the Narrow Gauge Convention.
Okay.
That's going to be September 11th through the 14th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm actually really looking forward to it. They changed up the schedule quite a bit this year. So where they normally have the schedule is 8 a.m. to noon, and then from noon to 6, you get to run around, see all the layouts, and do the tours, and shop and eat and do all that stuff, and then it would be open from 6 to 9:30 or 10 depending on where it's been over in years past. So this year it's got a different schedule every day, and Thursday is the only day that holds that schedule. So Wednesday when it opens, instead of there's never a morning session on Wednesday, but we're doing a 2 to 6 I believe is the vendor hall open on Wednesday, which means we're done at 6, so I can have time to go get a meal and then go back to the room and sleep.
That'll
instead
be nice.
Because I tend to be up late anyway, so the sooner I can try to go to bed.
Yeah.
But then Thursday is the 8 a.m. to noon, and then 6 to 9:30 sessions, and then Friday is, I believe I saw 1 to 7.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting, and then Saturday's morning till 1. 8 a.m. to 1, so that's kind of cool. So it gives us some time to go out and get around. But the one thing I loved about that session, though, is that you had that 6 hours to go see the layouts. And I really enjoyed that, because you get to see some really fantastic layouts.
Yeah, I remember you showed me a few photos of last year's, when you came back from last year's one.
So I was looking forward to getting back out to, I think the McKeesport train club that I visited last year, I think they're going to be open on the tour.
Okay.
The West Pennsylvania modelers, I'm not sure if they're on it or not yet. I haven't looked at all of them, but I'm looking forward to seeing some of that. And then, of course, seeing some of you guys. So by the time you see this, I may have already been there and back, but we'll see.
Alrighty.
After that, I fly back on Saturday night. And then the following weekend, we'll be at the Colorado RPM, and that's the Colorado Model Railroad Museum is hosting our own RPM. And I say ours because SoundTraxx is a major sponsor of that event.
And obviously it's Colorado. We're based in Durango, in Colorado.
Well, I'll use a phrase from an American Airlines company.
Sure.
An American airline company. And they used to, when we lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, they would always say, "We're best here, and we're the best here."
Okay.
And I like that. We're based in Colorado, and we're the best in Colorado.
There you go.
Take that for what it means. But we manufacture all our stuff here, so it only made sense that we really support the Colorado RPM. So that's taking place on the Saturday. What is the Saturday? The 21st, I believe it is. I don't have it in front of me. Hold on. I can look at my phone really quickly, and it'll tell me, since I have it out here to show off my models, let me see here really quickly. The 21st is the Saturday, so I was right. So the 21st will be the Colorado RPM, and you can sign up at corpm.org, or you can come in at the door. We'll have people being able to take at the door, so if you're seeing this before then, be sure to come out and see us and show your support for the Colorado Model Railroad Museum.
Yes.
Because a lot of this is also going to help benefit them as well. Yeah. So looking forward to that. So then after that, I'm going on a personal vacation.
Oh.
I'm going to get out for about a week and a half.
Yes.
I'm going to go play with the House of the Mouse out in Florida.
I see.
My wife is a huge Disney fan, and so we're going to go spend a week down there in Florida and visit and bounce around and do all the cool stuff down there. So it's not just for kids. It's a really cool place to go. But we're going primarily for her. And then after that, I'll come back and go to the Missouri Pacific Historical Society meet.
Yeah. You were telling me about that.
It's co-hosted with the Denver and Rio Grande Modelers Historical meet. And so it's a joint convention. So I'm doing a clinic there, talking about operations and running your trains more prototypically, especially using our product.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I have what I have here in front of me.
Okay.
This was part of my getting ready for the clinic, which I got to start writing here very soon. So if you're seeing this before October, I will have written it by then. So, but first, let's start off with what you modeled.
Nothing.
You haven't done anything.
Nope. Fat lot of zip.
Yeah. Well, I do know. I will give you a little bit of credit. You were moving and having to. You were homeless there for a week. And somebody who wonderfully took care of you for a week.
Thank you, George.
Let you stay at the house for a week while you got settled in your new place. That's what we do. We take care of our friends and family here. So what I did is I knew that you had nothing. So that's why I brought two models. So that you had something to show off. But I'll do it for you.
I should have something by next week. Don't you all worry.
So anyway. But what I did was I put together, now these are some Rapido F40PHs, and to be fair, I've already had them together in a while. What I did this past week is I upgraded them to Blunami. And what I'm doing is, one of the things the Rio Grande had on their railroad was they always had to have a Grand loco on the point.
Okay.
So if you ever watch the Amtrak trains running through on the Durango, there I go trying to say it again. The Durango and Silverton. No, the Denver and Rio Grande Western. I'm going to have to fix that before the convention.
Yeah.
But anyway,
nobody told me Amtrak ran it on 3-foot gauge.
No. Little known, borrowed those Central America units. But anyway, when they would run on the Denver and Rio Grande Western, the Grand had to put a pilot locomotive on front. And so basically, every time you look at old videos of the California Zephyr and stuff running through on the Moffett line, you always saw a Grand, usually a Jeep 40 on the point. And I always wondered, why do they need that extra power? Those two F40s are more than enough to handle the 12 or 13 cars that they carried.
Yeah.
But it was a Rio Grande thing that they had to have it on the point. So I decided to go ahead and upgrade these to Blunami. But then I'm also going to upgrade a Jeep 40 from the Tsunami 2 to
to pair with it?
To pair with it and kind of show how you would do that.
We know what you're bringing in next week then.
Well, I haven't finished it yet. I don't know. We'll have to see. But,
chop.
But anyway, so that's why I upgraded these, but I also put in, I had two of our Cube speakers. I replaced one of our Cube speakers with the Scale Sound System speakers. So I've got one of ours and one of his speakers in there.
Yeah.
And they sound great. I will tell you the volume's down low, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute the locomotives here. Now, on these locomotives, you have the headlight. Now, I've already got them consisted. Now, as you can see here in the screen, I've got them consisted under consist A. And I figured A made sense for Amtrak. But anyway, so consist A.
Get off the stage.
No. So anyway, so I've got these locomotives, and I do my own personal remapping. So as you can see here on the screen, these aren't the factory default function mapping. But what I have over here is, you can see I've got my strobe lights. So when I turn the strobe lights on, I've actually got my strobes on here. And it was interesting. I had them wired to two separate function outputs. and I would have them turn on and off separately. But I was watching some videos getting prepped for this installation, and every one of those F40PHs in that era flashed together.
Okay.
Which was amazing to me, because I always thought they flashed separately, but then I was 10, 12, 13, your age at that time. So, anyway, my point being was I didn't remember them doing it, but I know how a strobe light works.
Yeah.
So I just assumed they flashed, but I was watching a bunch of videos and every one of them flashed simultaneously, so I rewired them.
Okay.
And wired them together and put them in. So when I put that in there,
also freed you up to add even more lights.
I did. And then I had my front number boards on.
Okay.
And when the front number boards turn on, I guess I should move this other camera over here that apparently fell asleep on me. Because I wasn't actually recording on it. So I probably should show this on the second angle here. So we'll put this over here.
Recording?
Now it is. Now we're recording. So I got my strobe lights on here, so it's going to be hard to see it because they're not very bright. The LED actually sits below them, so I'm going to try to do something to frost the outside lens so that it diffuses the light a little better.
Yeah, I just saw it there.
You can see it, but it's not very bright.
Dim.
So
yeah, you can barely see it.
But what I did was I took the number boards and wired them together with the truck lights. Okay. So my truck lights are on, and the number boards are on together, so I'm using the same function. So of course, now the differences between the units, I actually was kind of cool. I didn't know this until I started working on these things a little bit more. But later versions of the F40PH were delivered with a K5LA.
Okay.
The early versions were a P5. So when we look at Locomotive 200, which was obviously the first in the series, that's got a P5 air horn on it, which was a little bit different.
Yeah.
So they sound different, which is cool. So now when I run them in either direction,
you get different horns.
I can get different horns. But what's really cool about this, and this is one of the benefits of consisting here with the Blunami, is that when you talk about head-end power, this is something that seems like a lot of people either forget about, don't know about, or just flat out ignore. Because again, when it comes to your DCC systems, how do you access function 16? It's not always intuitive. But here, when I go over here to my function list, you can see right there on the screen, it says HEP mode.
Yeah.
So when I did my consisting, now I did a longer video on this, and you can see that on our YouTube channel, but passenger operations are actually pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool things that you can do, and this is just one of them, is head-end power with these F40PHs. And so when I look at these two locomotives, if I was running head-end power, now head-end power, for those of you guys who don't know, is when they would run the diesel engine up to notch 8. And the reason for it was because on the main generator, instead of just using the power for tractive effort, they actually would route some of that power to the cars running in the train behind them for passenger service. So lights, air conditioning units, stoves, cooking, all the facilities were run by electric power off of the locomotive, hence head-end power.
Yeah.
Now, when it was typically one locomotive running on your train, of course, it would be that locomotive. But when you have two, they would actually turn on head-end power on the trailing unit. And the reason was because head-end power, when that diesel engine is notched up all the way, it's loud, it's uncomfortable, and that locomotive is shaking. So the crew would actually put it in the second unit so that
they didn't have to deal with that for the entire journey.
Correct. Okay. They have a more comfortable ride. Yeah. So if you look here, when I go into my consist settings on my screen, when I go into my consist functions, when I go open up my lead locomotive, I'll scroll and you can see that I have head-end power disabled. But when I go to my rear locomotive, which is in this case, I scroll to my head-end power and you'll see that it's checked.
Okay.
So that way, when I come back in here and I turn on head-end power, it actually turns on this
only
unit.
On the rear unit.
Only on the rear unit. And so this unit is the one that's getting the RPMs. So these locomotives were nicknamed Little Screamers because they would sit at the depot with running at notch 8 all the time because they were generating power for the train. So people called them, that's those screamers again. And so that was what was really neat. So we can more accurately model that now with our Tsunami 2 and, of course, Blunami, which is what I'm showing off here. Now, because we're competing for noise, I'm going to go ahead and mute my locomotives so I can finish talking. But when it comes to passenger operation, there's a lot of cool stuff, like the SDP-40s in the Amtrak era, the failed units, and maybe even those early E units. Those were actually steam generators.
Right, because they had the old steam train line through for the heating.
Correct. So the train line would come in off the steam generator. So when they were transitioning from steam to diesel, they didn't immediately change all the power equipment. So those are in there. And then some of the very, very new stuff took that electrical generation off of the main generator.
Right, the HEP generator.
And they would have a secondary diesel engine and a secondary HEP. So you really, if you're not sure about this or you want to learn more about it, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for operations and passenger service, where I've covered each of those scenarios and show you examples of each and how they would be used. So go to youtube.com and search SoundTraxx Passenger Operations. You'll see several videos we've done on it, including the P42s, the F59PHs and the F59PH. The F59PH and the PHIs were different locomotives, even though they had the same prefix. They were drastically differently designed locomotives. I had to double check myself because I'm like, wait a minute, what am I forgetting? There's a lot of numbers and stuff bouncing around this vacuous space up here.
We have no doubt of that.
But anyway, there's some really cool stuff when it comes to passenger operations. And of course, I gave this my normal treatment. It's got some basic weathering. And then, of course, I had to do my Magnalock brake lines and the air hoses in the MU cable.
I also noticed a new cable there. Is that you said that's the MU cable?
Yeah, the orange one is the MU cable, and the red one is the MU cable, and the other are the Magnalock brake lines. And if you're just
I've seen the brake lines before.
You've seen the others too. Because all the ones I've upgraded to Blunami have that as well.
Alrighty.
You get those from Pacific Western Rail Services up in Canada. He's got them. You can buy them as a kit where you can get the Magnalock brake lines, and you just glue the brake lines to your brake casting, the brake pipe casting. You cut the arrows off and glue it in. And then this, you just drill a small hole where your MU hose is, where your MU connector is. Just paint over it, and you'll never see it. And it's magnetic because it's magnetic through the paint. So if it's not on there, then it's connected.
All right.
So, but it's really cool. It's a really neat and one of those underlooked at features built into the locomotives when you're running. So that's one of my favorite things to add. And it really adds that extra element. And eventually I'm getting to the point where I'll run it through everything. And then now that I'm starting to upgrade my Amtrak fleet, I'm actually going to add some more cables because he makes them in red, blue, and yellow. So I was figuring I'll get them in a couple of different colors and make the MU for the for passenger operations between the Superliner cars. That'd be fun. That'd be a really neat feature. So just haven't gotten there yet. But anyway, be sure to check that out if you want to learn a lot more about passenger operations, how you can get the most out of it. I'll give you a trivia question, and you may have already heard it. But if I put a third unit here, where's the HEP going to go?
Mid-unit.
Mid-unit. Why is that?
Because they don't want to walk that far.
Yep. This came to us from an Amtrak engineer, so I will use his phrase, railroaders are lazy. And so if there was an issue developed with the head-end power, they didn't want to have to walk all the way to the third unit to fix and address it. So it was always in the second unit behind theirs, unless there was just one unit by itself. So there's your little fun fact for the day. So be sure to check out those videos. Well, that's everything I've got for now. Let's go ahead and go to our special guest. So we got our special guest. We got Mike from Doc Caboose. Now, Mike is part of Red's train repair. And he used to be based out of California, but then he came to the Kansas City area and got affiliated with Doc Caboose, which I'm really excited about. Because Doc's got a prime location, so we're going to learn all about that here. So let's welcome in Mike from Doc Caboose. So hopefully we'll be able to get him zoomed in. And Mike, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right. So welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you here. And so tell me a little bit about what you guys are seeing out there at Doc Caboose. I know I've been to the store a couple of times over the years. You got a great train watching location.
Yeah, Doc has Doc, the owner of the store, unfortunately couldn't be with us today. He was under the weather. But Doc has two cameras up on the top of his building. He owns the building here, and he has one facing one direction and another camera facing the other, part of that whole virtual railfan world.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are literally a stone's throw away from the Union Pacific main line, and it was actually the original Missouri Pacific main line.
Even better.
I heard you.
Of course, that's what you would go with.
Hey.
But yeah, we've recently got big back and going with your guys' product again, and the biggest seller for the most part has been the Tsunami 2 EMD. The EMD has been the fan favorite over here at our store. I would do an occasional Steam, an occasional GE product, but then I would have to say the second favorite here, which I've been actually pushing a lot here lately, has been your mobile decoders, just your regular function decoders.
Okay.
outside of the Tsunami 2.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have been coming in wanting to just get started into the DCC world. Mm-hmm. And I've showed them that your guys' products, you guys have non-sound decoders just like everyone else out here in the world. Mm-hmm. But I have proved to them that your motor control on those has been second to none, really. I found that your motor control has been amazing on your just your non-sound decoders. But here lately, I've actually been getting a big push finally on some of the Blunami items. Okay. But yeah, for the most part, it's been the regular mobile decoders and been the EMD Tsunami 2s.
Gotcha. Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. The mobile decoders seem to be one of the, how shall I say it? It's
gems.
Hidden gem, forgotten.
Yeah.
It's kind of falls second because sound is in our name, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it tends to be forgotten or overlooked or assumed, oh, well, these are an also product just to have them out there. But they're actually really cool. And I don't know if you know this, but it actually has functioning braking built into the decoder.
I've noticed that on a couple. The more I've gone in and adjusted settings for some of my customers, I've done for my personal customers and customers for the store. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that it's had functional braking on that.
Yeah, it's built in there so that way it's compatible to run with any of our sound decoders, so that you don't have to sacrifice the ability to use the braking function
on like the Tsunami 2 and the Econami.
Correct.
You can still use them with the mobile decoders. Mm-hmm. So it makes it much more useful for something like a B unit. Mm-hmm. Although my personal preference with those is Econami. So
yeah, Blunami at all. Because when you get Blunami, and this is why I really push it, is because you get the benefit of all the above. So you get a DCC decoder. So if you still want to use your DCC system, great. If you want to use the Blunami app, great. If you want to pair it with a mobile decoder, those don't have the Bluetooth connection, so then you just use your DCC system. And therefore, you don't lose anything, but you have that freedom. But I like putting Blunami in everything because every locomotive will then have its own voice, but then also I can take advantage of all the braking. So we have not just the independent braking, which is the brake squeal, but we also have the functioning automatic. And then with the Tsunami 2 family, which Dynamics the Blunami is part of, it has dynamic braking as well. So, but the good news is that if you are using a mobile decoder with that, you can set the braking rates to match the same, and then you do have to enable it in the motor decoders. It comes disabled by the factory.
Well, it's the same as in Tsunami 2. It's just set to 0. It's already function mapped.
Oh, is it function mapped? I haven't used it.
It's on F1.
It is.
Well, I don't use the mobile decoders as much, so.
It is a nice option I do give to customers out there who, want to get first started into DCC, but also, give them an opportunity to try out some of your products at more of a entry-level cost.
Sure.
And here a couple weeks ago, we did a couple train shows. One on Saturday, which was the Turkey Creek NMRA show over in Mission, Kansas. And then we did more of a swap and shop type show over at the Expo Center there at the Kansas City International Airport. And I put together a demo unit for people coming to check our table out for the store and for my repair. Gave them an opportunity to try out your Blunami, and you were making some comments about people enjoying the ease of settings, changing settings and whatnot. That was actually the big selling point. I sold, I think, a total of 8 Blunami decoders.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I sold. That was the big seller for the weekend. And whenever I actually handed people my phone, I had the demo set up on my cell phone. When I handed them my phone, I said, "Play with it. Take it for a test drive on the test track. You want to change the headlight setting? Change it to a Mars light. Play with it, get a feel for it." And whenever they did that, they realized that, you guys have preached and talked about it. It takes the guesswork out of everything. It does. It really does. It simplifies and brings people who aren't computer savvy, who aren't savvy with JMRI, aren't good with going into their NCE or Digitrax or ESU DCC systems. It gives them ease of mind type thing to be able to go in and change settings to where they can make it run like the big time installers, the big time runners. It allows a new world for people. And that was the big seller, and has finally opened up our customers' eyes here at the store for Doc Caboose. It really has changed things for a lot of people.
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, you guys have got a great area out there. I was actually out there in February in Kansas City doing an op session, and it was really fun. I got to go to one layout, and my brain is going blank as far as...
You're talking about Prairie Rail.
Prairie Rails, correct.
Right.
I was out there operating, and there was one of the layouts. It was unfortunately, I think it's going to be last year it was on this layout. He was still using Dynatrol, but I was so happy that he had a Blunami. And he said, "I would be honored if you would run it." And I said, "I would be honored to run it because I don't want to go back to Dynatrol."
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that when you left the office and left me alone to handle all the calls and all the emails for several days.
Well, you can look at it this way. I feel confident enough in your abilities to leave you behind to handle the calls. You can look at it that way. So that should be a compliment to you.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Well, that's a good thing. So Prairie Rails is one of the fun, but like I said, I got to run Blunami on this Dynatrol layout, which was fantastic because now I didn't have to deal with that archaic stuff and having to make sounds in my own noises and stuff when I'm running trains. But he was having a lot of issues, so it'll be I understood it was going to be probably the last time it was on Prairie Rails. And like I said, I'm drawing a blank on the name. It was it was the Pennsylvania Horseshoe Curve. I keep wanting to say Doug.
Oh, I remember seeing that. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I remember seeing the list of who was having off sessions.
Yep. Yeah. So, but that's one of my favorite events. It's one of the few that I actually go out and do. But you guys have got a great model railroading community out there. You've got some great stores in the area, including Doc Caboose. And and as you said, you're seeing an uptick in Blunami, and I know we're seeing it for sure in our side as well. So it's fantastic that you guys have that demo to get it in customers' hands, because that's one of the things. Guys, if you haven't tried it out, really take an effort, go try it out, go look at it. Contact your local store, try one out. I've yet to have anybody tell me they felt like they wasted their money on it. And I've certainly had a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, this is the best thing to happen to DCC or to model trains since DCC."
Best thing since sliced bread, I've heard a couple times.
Yeah. So
even for myself, after building the demo for the store here, I've even gone out for one of my favorite Frisco units. I've even just purchased my first Blunami.
Okay.
I'm super stoked to get that installed into my personal unit. So Again, like you guys said, get it in your hands and it will be a complete game changer for you.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the business, obviously, and I'll say you've made a huge difference out there at Doc Caboose. Like I said, I've been out there a couple of years in the past. I also know for you Mopac guys, that's the home of the Missouri Pacific Historical Society store. So if you need any hats, shirts, whatever, you can get them at Doc Caboose as well. So Tell us a little bit about the store in general, and then you guys do offer installation services, I assume, now that you're there and so forth. And then what do you guys out there?
So Doc has had the store here. I had to fall back to my notes. I couldn't remember exactly what year it was, but Doc started the store here back in March of 2002.
Okay.
As I said, the building itself, Doc owns the whole building. It was back original from if I remember correctly, he said the late 1800s. So it's actually part of the old historic West Bottoms down here in Kansas City, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the, off of the Union Pacific main line, the original Missouri Pacific. So yeah, Doc's going on his 23rd year here. My wife Felicia Schmidt, both of us came on board last summer. She specializes in detailing. I do the repair, hence Red's Train Repair. Yeah. And I'm sure nobody can figure out the nickname. But yeah, so we offer everything here at the store. The store is really geared towards the modeler's hardware store. Doc, we really pride ourselves on that. And then with my wife and I coming in, I've been able to bring a new avenue to the store, offering repair services. I offer the repair services all over Kansas City as well. We just happen, with us, being part of Doc Caboose, this is one of my main pickup and drop off locations. And it brings all kinds of people in. But yeah, we've been here. We're working. My wife and I are working our tails off to help Doc bring the store back to its old former glory. And yeah, we're just glad to be a part of the model railroading community here in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where can we find Doc Caboose at?
It's docscaboose.biz. If you are not familiar with where the store is located, again, the area is what they call the Old West Bottoms. Mm-hmm. We're at 1400 Union Avenue here in Kansas City, Missouri. 64101 is our zip code. And our phone number here is 816-471-7114. And you can call down here. We're open Thursday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And on any of those 4 days, you'll be able to reach myself, Doc, or my wife, Felicia. We'll be glad to help you guys out and glad to help you guys get into any SoundTraxx items. And if we can't figure out the answer, George will tell you I talk to him at the very least, about on average 3 times a month, questions, orders, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I was going to say it was about once a week, it seems like. But
there for a while, it was definitely once a week.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. And that shows the great partnership we have, too, because we're here to help support you guys with your hobby. If you have any questions, things like that, and also help support the stores, because we want to support the local businesses, because the stores have a big challenge that we want to make sure that they overcome. So guys, try to support your local stores as much as you can. And when you've got a great store like Doc Caboose out there that offer the service,
makes it much better.
Makes it much easier to go support them.
Yeah.
So Mike, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. And we'll look forward to talking again here in the near future.
All right, you guys have a good one. Thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, Mike, that was great to have you in and join. We appreciate you taking the time to come join us on the podcast. That was interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that place next time I'm in the area.
Yeah, it's a great store. And I tell you what, with Mike being over there, I guarantee you they're going to turn it around and start getting that store, because they've been kind of around as the middle of the road place for a while. But I'm excited with what Mike's going to do over there.
Yeah.
And seeing Doc back in the fold, that's great.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, that's everything we've got wrapped up for this particular session of Train Talk from Milepost 141. This is our SoundTraxx Sound Bites podcast, episode number 7, lucky number 7, or is
we think.
We think. So
we'll go with that.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, everything you need to do. If you have any topics or thoughts you want to talk about, give us a call. give us an email, support@soundtraxx.com.
Yep.
Call us up and we'll talk about it, and we'll see what we can do about covering new topics here on the podcast.
Alrighty.
But this is just an afternoon of fun.
Yeah, and we do read your comments on YouTube. Who knows? We may even start responding to some of them on the show. Maybe.
Yeah, we're going to talk about doing that. So
Yeah.
we're like he mentioned earlier on, we do pre-record this, so we don't necessarily have last podcast episode stuff to do. We're a few ahead of time. I think this puts us 3 or 4 ahead of the going public.
Yeah.
So we'll look and see where we're at, and we'll get some questions answered here online. So be sure to like, though, and make sure you subscribe, because that really helps us out, lets us know that this is interesting for you guys.
Yeah.
We're trying to do our best to make it interesting and fun, and it's a little glimpse into behind the scenes, what we talk about, the stuff that we don't always get to show off when we're doing our regular YouTube feature videos, talking about specific parts of.
I mean, when we're doing those, we do try and sort of guide you through our thought process and how we selected these values. And one of the things we do is we don't say what we personally use, what we've personally decided. Here we can do that.
Yep, that's true. So anyway, we've tried to sign this off 3 times now. So,
lucky third time's a charm.
There you
Let's
go.
go with that.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on next episode, because if we keep talking, we're never going to have anything to talk about on the next one.
True. All right. Bye.
See you guys. Thanks.